Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem of Sri Lanka. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please resume your seats. Now, in order to get things underway to an auspicious start, I would like to welcome the following to light the traditional oil lamp. Our chief guest tonight, Professor H. Sharif Dean, Professor Srinath Chandrasekara, President of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, Professor Rowan Parkes, Vice President of the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, Professor Jackie Taylor, President of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Glasgow, Professor M.D. Lamavansa, President of the SARC Surgical Care Society, Dr. Sanjeeva Munasinghe, Secretary, Ministry of Health, Dr. Asela Gunawardana, Director General of Health Services, Dr. Jayendra Fernando, the immediate past President of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, Dr. Satish Gunasinghe, President-elect of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, our senior-most past President, Professor Arjuna Aluvihare, Dr. Ranga Vikramarachi, the Secretary of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, Dr. Rezni Kazim, Treasurer of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, Professor Bhavanta Gamage, Conference Chair of Sri Lanka Surgical Congress 2021, and Professor Ajit Malalasekara, the Academic Chair of the Sri Lanka Surgical Congress 2021. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May I now welcome the following to take their places in the head table. Professor H. Sharif Dean, Professor Srinath Chandrasekhara, Professor Rowan Parks, Professor Jackie Taylor, Professor M.D. Lamawansa, Dr. Abhay Dalvi, President of the Association of Surgeons of India, Professor Abdul Majid Chowdhury, past President of the SARC Surgical Care Society, representing the Association of Surgeons of Pakistan, Dr. Lim Kin Gee, President of the College of Surgeons of Malaysia, Dr. Sanjeeva Munasinghe, Secretary of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Asela Gunawardena, Director General of Health Services, our immediate past President, our President-elect, Professor Nandadeva Samarasekara, Vice President of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, the Secretary of the College, the Treasurer, the Academic Chair, and the Conference Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now call upon the President of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, Professor Srinath Chandrasekhara, to deliver the address of welcome.
Chief guest, Professor H. Sharif Dean, Professor Mike Griffiths, President of the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, who's joining us live from Edinburgh, Professor M.D. Lamawansa, President of the SARC Surgical Care Society and our co-host this evening, Professor Rowan Parks, representing the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh this evening as the host in attendance, Professor Lim Kin Gee, President of the Royal College of Surgeons of Malaysia, Dr. Abhay Dalvi, President of the College of Surgeons of India, Professor Abdul Majid Chowdhury, College of Surgeons of Pakistan, Dr. Sanjeeva Munasinghe, Secretary of Health, Dr. Asela Gunawardena, Director General of Health Services, past presidents, members of council, fellows, and distinguished guests. It is indeed one of the most pleasant tasks for me to welcome you all to the Golden Jubilee celebrations and the inauguration of the Golden Jubilee Congress, Sri Lanka Surgical Congress 2021 this evening. As many of you may know, the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka had very humble beginnings 50 years ago, merely comprising of just a handful of eminent surgeons who initially met in their residences and subsequently in the departments in the University of Colombo and in the then Colombo General Hospital. The college has grown rapidly with one objective, and I repeat, only one objective at hand. And that has been, and that will be, to improve patient care services in this country. What we witness here today and what we have witnessed during the Golden Jubilee year, despite many challenges, has been the collective vision of many presidents and their councils along with the members, which has eventually culminated in the college developing to this extent. an association which began in the 60s, progressing to a college of surgeons with a few members, I'm proud to say, has progressed to more than 600 members as of now. And very soon we will exceed 1,000 specialist surgeons in this country. Another important aspect of our growth has been that Sri Lanka has been able to retain the vast majority of its specialists trained locally, despite their recognition and acceptance in developed, if not Western countries. But they have chosen to come back. And I salute all our members for prioritizing the service to the nation and our patients to have come back. With the growth of the college, numerous specialties have grown parallel to those in the West. And I'm again very proud to say, on behalf of the college, that all these specialties have developed under the umbrella of the College of Surgeons. All these associations and colleges, up to date, are represented in the College Council, and we are, although a college of its own, we work in cohesion with all these associations for a common objective. This year, whilst we celebrate our Golden Jubilee, there have been numerous programs that were prioritized as the Golden Jubilee year. I do not need to elaborate further to you the challenges we have faced over the last 20 months or so, where the global pandemic, the COVID pandemic, has affected every corner of the country. And we do know that Sri Lanka has not been spared. Firstly, in presenting some of the work we have done this year and along the way, I must pay a tribute to all our surgeons and their teams. We all know that surgeons cannot perform on their own. They cannot provide a service on their own. They need a team, and this team comprises of other fellow doctors, colleagues, anesthetists, pathologists, nurses, healthcare workers, technicians. So these teams have done an excellent service in sustaining the essential care services in surgery throughout the pandemic, despite numerous risks. I must also make note that not only have they served the nation and provided essential surgical services, they have also been very successful in protecting themselves and their teams, which is a very important aspect in overcoming the challenges of the pandemic. So once again, I salute all our surgeons and their teams for the great service they have rendered throughout these months. Members of the head table, honored guests, the vision of the College of Surgeons is based on several factors. And these factors include enhancement of professionalism, excellence, inclusivity, and most importantly, compassion towards our patients. I'm again delighted to be here before you and present some of the work the college has been able to achieve, all of which, without exception, has been within these values and vision of the country, of the college. This year, despite all our challenges, we have been able to achieve all our key objectives which were planned for the year. We all know the impact of trauma on society in general and the enhancement of the workload for surgeons and healthcare systems of any country. Trauma care has been one of the foremost activities and priorities of our college over the years. And this year, the council of our college was able to prioritize a 10-year plan to improve trauma care services in our country. What we did this year was to not invent new programs and new services. Instead, we looked back at all the work that has been done by our college members, the Ministry of Health, the WHO, and various other stakeholders such as the Sri Lanka Medical Association, and we made a very organized effort to bring all these services and efforts together. So it was a year where we coordinated, and I must say very successfully, to bring all these trauma care services and concepts together. And as a result, I'm once again happy to say that we've managed to bring in very important policy and procedural changes and policy changes which the Ministry of Health has already accepted in principle for implementation. Trauma care training is one of the most frequently held training programs through the college. And as we approach our Golden Jubilee, the 50th year, we have also approached the 50th internationally accredited trauma training program in this country. In fact, one was held even this morning at the Kothalawala National Defense University. And these programs not only include doctors, young doctors, they include nurses and other paramedics who are all involved with the care of the injured. We have managed to collaborate with emergency ambulance services such as the Swiss area, once again, to fulfill similar objectives. Ladies and gentlemen, as the COVID pandemic hit us very unexpectedly last year, the second wave came right on top of our annual conference. And it so happened that within a matter of weeks, we realized that the international conference, which we had organized in the traditional manner, was coming right on top of a lockdown. So the surgeons rose to the occasion and overcame all these challenges, and Dr. Jayendra Fernando, the past president who was the incumbent president at that time, managed to convert the entire annual congress into a virtual conference, and this happened within a matter of days. And we are very proud that the entire program was held without any shortcomings. And I must thank Jayendra for showing us the way to adapt to change and brace up to challenge. So learning from this lesson, this year, as I mentioned during my induction, the college prioritized the establishment of a state-of-the-art video conferencing and IT system, which we would have as inbuilt infrastructure, enabling us to conduct virtual conferences, medical training, and exchange of knowledge and experience from within this college itself. So later you will see some clips and trailers enumerating quite a bit of the work we've done. And in fact, you are present in this very auditorium, which has been completely stripped despite the pandemic. And we have been able to succeed in our efforts to completely digitize our college and to make it one of the most advanced virtual conferencing facilities in the country. No presidential address, ladies and gentlemen, is complete without the mention of the Nora and Noel Bartholomew's Foundation. Almost 17 years ago, the college was bestowed this magnificent property by the wife of one of the most legendary surgeons Sri Lanka has ever produced, Dr. Noel Bartholomew. And since then, this property has been the home of the College of Surgeons, and over the years, we have managed to develop it to what you see today. As I took office with my vibrant council early this year, we set out on an ambitious plan to completely restore, renovate, and modernize the Nora and Noel Bartholomew's Foundation. Little did we realize that we'd be faced with more challenges of the pandemic, lockdowns, economic downturns, escalation of currency, but nothing stopped the college and its council from progressing with our projects. Again, I'm sure you'll hear more about these projects during the conference and later this evening. But what you see here today is the end result of that effort, where the surgeons and the council braced up to the challenge of fulfilling its tasks and plans. And we have had our own hair-raising moments, especially in the last 2 weeks, where we were really not sure whether we were going to complete these premises, but we did it possibly within hours of the planned opening just a few days ago. And some of you who follow social media would realize what this place looked like just a week ago. And I'm very pleased that it looks and it appears so different today, especially with all of you present here. The Sri Lanka Surgical Congress, which will begin from today, following the numerous pre-surgical or pre-congress workshops that have been conducted so far, will embrace the true vision of our college of inclusivity, excellence, and progress. And I'm sure you'd realize that even the orations that have been awarded truly reflect the ethos of the college. We have one oration based on the experience of the COVID by surgeons. We have an oration, an invited oration by one of our eminent past presidents on quality assurance. And indeed, the SAC oration, which we based on one of the commonest surgical problems that is encountered in all specialties in this country, which is kidney stone disease. During this Jubilee week, we will also be having several festivities, and one such event has already been concluded, which was the ceremonial opening of these premises few days ago, followed by the inauguration today. And tomorrow, we will witness another landmark event for those of us at the college, which is the opening of the College of Surgeons Museum within this premises. On Saturday, for the first time in the history of our college, a commemorative stamp will be issued to celebrate the Golden Jubilee of the country. Members of the head table, ladies and gentlemen, and friends who are joined with us virtually, the tremendous or the rapid progress we have experienced in the college over the last 5 decades has not been without help. And it is important for me that I acknowledge some key partnerships that have enabled us to be where we are today. From early on, Sri Lanka has had very close connections with the United Kingdom. And our professional associations with our peers in the UK has been through the Royal Colleges of the United Kingdom. And it is with a deep sense of gratitude that I place on record today that the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh has partnered our activities and collaborated with our activities, indeed for mutual benefit, for several decades. It will be the 10th year of formal and continuous engagement by Edinburgh with the College of Surgeons. And I'm delighted that the memorandum of understanding which exists between the two colleges will be renewed during the festivities of our Golden Jubilee. Glasgow was quick to follow, and the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Glasgow, too, have helped us in numerous ways, and in particular, helping us with quality assurance, exam development, and international accreditation, to a point where the support of the Royal Colleges collectively enabled us to obtain direct recognition for registration at the General Medical Council. It is with a sense of pride, yet humility, that I mention that Sri Lanka is the only country that is accredited for the award of the membership in the Royal College of Surgeons of Glasgow without examination. So Sri Lanka, or the MD graduates from the Postgraduate Institute of Sri Lanka, once they complete their MD, because of the high quality that we have managed to maintain throughout the year, and with the help of the Royal Colleges and other international bodies who have helped and guided us, have enabled us to be recognized, to be in par with international training programs. And as a result, our graduates do not need to sit for any further examinations to obtain the membership of the Royal College. So Rowan and Professor Taylor, you're representing the two Royal Colleges on stage here, and the College of Surgeons is very grateful for your continuing partnership in this mutually beneficial way for the progress of our colleges. We have not only had links with the West, we have had very close links with our friends in the neighborhood. We have had long links with India, where they have helped us with training programs, knowledge, and expertise. And Professor Lamavan will be speaking about this in a moment, so I'm not going to elaborate. But nevertheless, it is my duty to place on record the close cooperation that we maintained with India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and the rest of the SAARC countries, which has resulted in the development of the SAARC Surgical Care Society, once again conceptualized by one of our eminent surgeons, and the headquarters being placed within the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka. That does not make us more important. We are all equals, but we are very happy to be involved very deeply in the SAARC Surgical Care Society. Professor Lim Kim Gee has come all the way, despite the pandemic, to be with us. We've got an ever so growing partnership and a relationship with our friends in Malaysia, and over the last 4 to 5 years, we've been visiting each other for each and every international congress on both sides. And this has resulted in a very strong bond between the Malaysian College and the Sri Lankan College. And I'm once again delighted that on Saturday, for the first time, during the Golden Jubilee, the College of Surgeons will be entering into a memorandum of understanding with the College of Surgeons of Malaysia for mutual cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, our Golden Jubilee is not only about looking back and rejoicing about our achievements. Indeed, we have had a very humble origin and had reasonable progress for us to be proud of. But it is more important for us at this juncture to look forward and to plan ways of furthering the professionalism of our members in order to achieve our final objective of improved patient care. And in doing so, we have been successful this year once again in achieving several projects. We have entered into a program to further the qualifications of our young surgeons. And for the first time this year, the college will be holding exit fellowship exams. As you know, at present, certification as a specialist is based on a portfolio assessment and a viva and the MD, which is at basic level. From this year, the college will be spearheading a program to conduct pilot examinations in different specialties to certify our surgeons at exit level in their respective specialties. The new program or the exam to conduct the pilot examination in urology will be conducted later on next month, which will be followed by the final exam in March. We have also been very fortunate to directly engage with patient care this year, as for the first time, the college will be partnering with the Ministry of Health and the Vijaya Kumaratunga Trust and the Vijaya Kumaratunga Hospital to set up a kidney stone surgery center. And this is once again one of the first colleges to set up a clinical service center, and this will provide entirely free care not only to people from the vicinity, but this will be a referral center and a center of excellence for access to all surgeons from across the country who can bring in their patients who are on long waiting lists to relieve them of the agony. The Memorandum of Understanding, which was approved by the Ministry of Health recently, was entered into between the stakeholders yesterday in this very premises. So, ladies and gentlemen, despite the pandemic, it has been a very eventful year for the college, and I believe we've been able to convert most of our challenges into opportunities. Before I wind up, I think it's my duty, although there is a separate vote of thanks, to acknowledge some of the key contributors to our activities during this year. My council, who has provided unstinted support for all activities during the year. The Ministry of Health, headed by the Secretary of Health, Dr. Sanjeeva Munasinghe, our very own Dr. Sanjeeva Munasinghe, and the Director General of Health, Dr. Asela Gunawardena, who is here with us today, gracing this occasion, has provided us with unreserved support in all our activities. And I thank you, sir, thank you, sirs, on behalf of the college for your support. There's one person behind me and the council who has done most of the work that I'm able to talk about today, and that is Ranga, our energetic Secretary Ranga. He'll be delivering the vote of thanks, so I believe he'll not be thanking himself. But if there's one person who deserves an applause, it is Dr. Ranga Vikramarachchi, our energetic secretary, who has done all the work on our behalf. Thank you, Ranga. So as I come to the end of my address, and almost the end of my tenure as president, it is with a sense of delight that I take you back to my induction. And my council and the honored guests over there would remember the theme that we generated for the Jubilee year. Many of you recognize this as one of the unique carvings from the Ambaka temple. What is unique about this carving is that there's only one such carving within that premises. There have been many replications, but originally there was only one such carving. So our conceptualist, Mr. Mahavalagi, is here, along with our members and council, try to draw parallels with the Packard, as it's called, which is a decoration on the pillar, to the College of Surgeons. And if I may enumerate some of the key features that run parallel or that is similar between the Packard and the college, you'd see that the center, being the college, has now blossomed into many other specialties, associations, and colleges. Our members provide services to all corners of the country, signified by the 4 petals pointed in 4 directions. Indeed, our services are not limited only to the country. There are many of our colleagues who are serving the rest of the world, and that is signified by the smaller leaves wedged between the larger ones. In the background, you see these fine grooves, And we believe that they represent each and every surgeons of our fraternity. And what is special about this carving is that no single group is similar to the other. They're all different. Just like surgeons. They're all very different. They're unique, but they form an integral part of a beautiful maze, eventually blossoming into the lotus that you see here, which is the College of Surgeons for us. What you don't see here is our foundation. In the final slide of my induction, I show this very famous artwork and the quote attributed to Sir Isaac Newton. And when asked how he could develop so much and know so much within a short period of time, being young as he was, his comment was that he could see further as he stood on the shoulders of giants. Ladies and gentlemen, while thanking you for your presence here today, I can only say that we, the College of Surgeons, have truly, over the years, stood on the shoulders of giants, which has enabled us to be here today. Thank you very much, and have a pleasant evening.
Thank you very much, sir, for those inspiring words. May I now welcome Professor Mike Griffin, the President of the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, who will be joining us virtually.
Well, hello from the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh. It's a very grey, wet late October evening while I speak to you, and I'm sure it is very different in Sri Lanka at the moment. I am speaking to you to congratulate you on your Golden Jubilee of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka. What a wonderful occasion. I'm just so sad that I'm not with you to celebrate that time, particularly with great friends. I won't say old friends, but great friends like Jayendra Fernando, Ranil Fernando, and of course the current president Srinath Chandrasekhar, and past president Nisanka Jayawardena. And I wish Satish Gunasinghe a fantastic presidency for the next year as well. Professor Rowan Parks, our Vice President, is with you, together with Judy Evans, a past Honorary Secretary, representing the College. It just simply was too late for me to change my arrangements, but my thoughts are with you. It will be a fabulous meeting, it always is, and I look forward very much to seeing you again next year. So have a fantastic conference. Our thoughts are with you from here in the college, and I hope the weather is significantly better where you are rather than here. Have a lovely time.
Thank you to Professor Griffin for those kind words. Unfortunately, the weather is sadly not any different from the cold grey day in Glasgow. I would now like to welcome the President of the SARC Surgical Care Society, Professor M.D. Lamawansa, to address the gathering.
A very good evening to all of you. The President of the Golden Jubilee Year of the College of Surgeons, Professor Srinath Chandrasekhar, the Chief Guest tonight, Professor A.H. Sherifdeen, Professor Rowan Parks, representing the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, Professor Jackie Taylor, the President of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Glasgow, Dr. Abhay Dalvi, the President of the Association of Surgeons of India, Dr. Sanjeeva Munasinghe, the Secretary, Ministry of Health, and Dr. Asela Gunawardena, the Director General of Health Services, past presidents of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka and the SARC Surgical Care Society, represented here by Professor Abdul Majid Chowdhury and his colleagues, representatives of the SAARC countries, fellows, council members of the College of Surgeons, and the president of the Malaysian College of Surgeons, my good friend, Professor Kim Gee. And it is with a great sense of comradeship that the SAARC Surgical Care Society congratulates the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka on celebrating its Golden Jubilee year. The SAARC Society is honored for the opportunity received to co-host the Sri Lanka Surgical Congress 2021, as has been the practice over decades now. SAARC Society is proud to highlight that it has been working very closely with the college, the College of Surgeons, for nearly half of the 50-year history of the latter, that is the college. I only realized it a couple of days ago. Moreover, the college was a major driving force behind the establishment of the SAARC Surgical Care Society. Of course, Professor Alvihari is here. And the college provided temporary housing for the SAARC Society office until a permanent headquarters was established in a prime location in the capital city of Sri Lanka and using college resources. The college continues to look after the SAARC Society office by maintaining the building and providing staff, which makes our work much more manageable. The college has also worked hard to achieve the fundamental goals of the SAARC Society over the last 25 years, including the promotion of closer ties among the surgeons of the region, the standardization and improvement of surgical teaching, training, and services in our part of the world, exchange of technology and expertise through various events which were held regularly, conferences and forums, advancement of undergraduate and postgraduate medical education in this region, improving provision of services to the patients of the least privileged areas of the countries in the region, protecting and advancing the interests, rights, and privileges of the surgeons, and to maintain and uphold the dignity, honor, and the prestige of them, and also to publish newsletters, periodicals, journals, books, among many other things. The college has also contributed more than its share to hold such events as SAARC symposia, workshops, orations, SAARC best paper sessions, and recognition of national surgical leaders for SAARC Icon of Surgery Award. It is also important to recognize that the Sri Lanka Spinal Cord Network, under the leadership of Dr. Narendra Pinto, who himself is a past president of the SAARC Surgical Care Society and the current Director General of the headquarters in Colombo, has been working very closely with the SAARC Society to reach out to those who need specialized care. I am also extremely happy to note the commitment of the college to work with the society during the last 2 years of my presidency amidst the restrictions imposed by COVID. Although I was spending some time, about 9 hours away from here, during last 2 years, the number of calls I got, especially on Sundays from Srinath, was really indicative of his commitment and that of his council. On its part, SAARC society and member countries represented here today and joining on Zoom have contributed and collaborated with the college activities in a significant way. All in all, our collaboration has been extremely productive. And as far as the college is concerned, the college can contend with the role it has played in regional cooperation over the last 25 years. As for this conference, to which Professor Bhavanta Gamage on behalf of the SAARC Surgical Care Society contributed immensely, I am ecstatic about the presence of delegates from SAARC member nations and their assistance in organizing workshops, plenaries, and symposia, both in person and online. Generally, we get about more than 100 SAARC members attending our conference. Of course, due to the pandemic, we have only very limited number this time. This collaboration, I sincerely hope, will continue to advance regional cooperation and our collective identity. Changing my hat from the SAARC society to the college a little bit, I have witnessed the growth of this college since 1986, the year that I became a surgical trainee under Professor Aluvihare. And of course, Professor Ratnatunga, who has joined online. The college was very young then, as I was. What I have witnessed is the overall quality of the college functions, contribution to national surgical training, promotion of research, establishing international collaboration, as Professor Srinath Chandrasekhara mentioned today, promotion of professionalism and ethical practice, contribution to the national policy making, have made tremendous progress. There has been steady progress in encouraging and enrolling young surgeons to get involved with the college activities. That is how I got involved with the college activities long time ago with Professor Aluvihare and Professor Ratnatunga. The college resolve to look after the periphery has made those in the periphery embrace the college, a fact that we should not forget. In an era of considerable trend towards subspecialization, the college has been successful in providing an umbrella to all the surgical specialties and maintaining coherence without allowing the subspecialty groups to lose their identity. One of the remarkable factors which has contributed to the steady progress of the college has been the deep interest that the outgoing councils and the presidents have in assisting the college, that I noticed from the time that I joined the college. It is also most encouraging to note the desire of the successive council to engage with those who held office in the past, thus promoting progress of the college without any partisan interests. I have no doubt these ideals of the college will continue over the coming decades, and when we celebrate 100 years, I suppose still those things will remain intact. There are many distinguished and eminent surgeons and well-wishers. David Richens is here. And the SAARC Surgical Care Society and the College of Surgeons had enormous assistance from many of you. I really appreciate, on behalf of the SAARC regions or SAARC Surgical Care Society, the assistance that you have given. President Sir, ladies and gentlemen, SAARC Surgical Care Society welcomes all of you to this historic event and also wish you a fruitful Congress. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, sir. May I now welcome Professor Jackie Taylor, President of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Glasgow, and request her to address the gathering.
Good evening, Mr. President, past presidents, council members, and distinguished and honoured guests. It is indeed a huge privilege to have been invited to be present at the Congress and to have been invited to say a few words. I was fortunate to meet Professor Chandrasekera on a rather wet day, not unlike the weather here today, although in Scotland the weather is much colder. We met in 2018, and due to his kind invitation, Sri Lanka was one of the first places I visited as a president. So there's a sense of coming full circle to be returning at the end of my presidency. And it's a particular joy to take part in this very special 50th Golden Jubilee celebration. I bring you the warmest wishes and congratulations from the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons in Glasgow. That relationship between the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka and our Glasgow College is very important to us. We believe it's a special partnership. David Richens, already mentioned, was instrumental in forging that relationship some years ago, but many fellows and officers of both colleges have subsequently built on that foundation. It's a relationship which works. And it works because it's based on trust, the utmost respect, and on shared values. And we've heard about compassion, inclusivity, and professionalism. Ultimately, we all wish to provide the highest standards of patient care. It's a partnership which I'm sure will go from strength to strength in the future with the expertise of our President-elect, Mr. Mike McCurdy, and our Vice President Surgical, Mr. Abi Rani, who are both here with me this evening. These have been challenging times indeed. We've all missed the very simple things, being together with friends and family, being able to travel, being able to be present, that physical connection with colleagues. So it's really wonderful to be physically here at this ceremony. But as we've heard, from adversity does come opportunity, and we've seen amazing developments in vaccine programs, in antiviral agents, and in the ways that we've delivered care. It's often been described as being a little like building an aeroplane and also trying to fly it at the same time. As a college like you, we've had to find new ways of delivering education and training and examinations. While we've all missed that personal contact, the world is now a much smaller place, and in some ways we are actually more connected and better connected now than we ever were before. So this 50th Golden Jubilee, this anniversary, it is a time to look back and celebrate the many, many achievements of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, which are quite staggering. The Glasgow College, yes, is over 400 years old, but it's incredible to see what you have achieved in 50. Now, sometimes on our 50th birthdays, for those of you who have had your 50th birthdays, it is a time of reflection. Sometimes we have a bit of a midlife crisis. Well, I am delighted to be able to say that the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka is not having a midlife crisis. It's moving ahead with great vision, with great pace, with lots of new initiatives and postgraduate training, and we're absolutely delighted to be sharing in some of this work and to be signing a further MOU with you. I understand that the weather has been unseasonably stormy, and it did nearly jeopardize your beautiful refurbishments. The pandemic, of course, has also been likened to a storm. It's been a force of nature, it's been unpredictable, and it has been unforgiving. We are all trying to weather that storm. We will have to work hard and be determined, but all the more reason for us to work together. Technological developments and innovation, though, haven't just been limited to healthcare over the course of the pandemic. Earlier this year, an unmanned spacecraft landed on the surface of Mars. Now, you might ask, why on earth am I talking about spacecraft landing on Mars? Well, that spacecraft was called Perseverance. And when it landed on Mars, it sent a tweet on social media. And its first tweet was, "Perseverance can get you anywhere." That phrase really struck a chord with me. And I think what we've seen over the decades, over the ages in medicine and surgery, is that perseverance and innovation from Lister to Teesdale. And it's that same perseverance, I'm sure, which has brought us all together and will stand us in good stead. I was very taken just a few moments ago by the lighting of the lamps. I found that very moving. We associate light with knowledge. We use the term shine a light on something. Well, COVID has shone its light on many injustices. Health inequalities have long been evident, but these have been exacerbated. And as we begin to recover health services, it will be good to focus on resolving those inequalities. The new initiative described by the President for patients who are waiting in pain with kidney stones, I think is a wonderful example of widening access and being more inclusive. I mentioned earlier that we have the same goal of patient care. I think colleges can and do offer some other things. And I think they have a very important role to play for their members and their fellows. And not just in terms of training and education, but of providing a real sense of community, of fellowship, of comradeship. I remain concerned about the well-being of our profession. It has had a difficult time, particularly over the pandemic. But we can provide peer support and be a collegiate home, and I know very well that that sense of community is extremely strong in this college, and that is something for you to be very proud of. In closing, I would like to acknowledge the leadership of all of the past presidents, but in particular this year, the leadership of your current president. His incredible drive and tireless devotion and vision have played a crucial role, and I feel very privileged to have worked with him. So on this 50th Golden Jubilee, I hope that the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka is entering a golden era. On behalf of the Glasgow College, we look forward to working with you and wish you every success in the next 50 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. May I now call the President to the stage.
Members of the head table, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great privilege to formally introduce the chief guest for tonight. I say formally introduce because if there's one person who does not need an introduction to this audience, it is our chief guest. I'm honored to note that I was one of his disciples and trainees not so long ago. Professor Sharifdeen is one of the most illustrious products of the Columbia University and one of the most renowned surgeons in this country. I need not elaborate on that any further because we all know about him. Professor Sharifdeen has been one of the most sought after trainers And over the years, there has been a lot of clamoring to get into his unit as young trainees. Later on, I was wondering whether it is for purposes of weight reduction or contraception. But I knew that whatever it may have been, it was fully worth it. Professor Sharifdeen always led from the front and continues to do so. As a young registrar, working with a surgeon who provided almost a single-handed service for vascular surgery, vascular surgery is something that cannot wait. And he provided almost a single-handed surgery, ably assisted by Professor Mandik Vijayaratne indeed and Professor Rantatungain Kandi. But there was never any time in the night when we had trouble which we couldn't manage, we would call Professor Sharifdeen. There was never ever a time, if he was in town, where it took longer than 15 to 20 minutes to turn up at the accident service. I still cannot figure out how he did that, but he led from the front. I'm not going to bore you with his CV because you all know it. I'll tell you a few other things very briefly. As a young surgeon, what struck me most about my guru was that he had equal standards for everything, whether it was his clothes, his ward, his patient care, his car, his house, and I continue to say this to my students. He had one standard, and for himself. He would never ask us to do something that he wouldn't be able to do himself. So, Professor Sharifdeen, who led this college in the year 2000, continues to be on our council as a past president by absolute demand. And I had to visit his clinic one day to physically drag him to this place to agree to be the past president in my council, but he agreed. So thank you, sir, for being with us. And if there's one person who fits all the criteria, or a few people amongst a few people who fits all the criteria as a chief guest for the Golden Jubilee, you would certainly be on the top several of that list. So we are honored indeed, sir, for being with us today. And now I cordially request you to address the gathering.
Good evening. Srinath, I always knew you were a liar. And today's statement confirmed it. Thank you very much for the very flattering remarks that you have made. At my age, I need all the assistance. See, PowerPoint and a hard copy to deliver this. When I said my age, I was 33 years of age when this college was first formulated, and they said when I applied for membership that I was too young to be a member or a founder member of the College of Surgeons. So I'm here now 50 years later, standing before you and talking about this present experience. Professor Srinath Chandrasekhar, Professor Mike Grillo, President of the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, Professor Lamavansa, President Sark Surgical Care Society, Professor Jackie Taylor, President Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons Glasgow, Dr. Ranga Vikramarachi, our Honorary Secretary, Secretary Health, Director General of Health Services, past presidents, members of the Council, ladies and gentlemen. I consider it to be a singular honor to be invited for this occasion to speak to you. As Srinath mentioned just now, he was a surgical registrar in the professorial surgical unit in Colombo in 1997. His talents for good surgical practice, innovation, invention, etc., was evident even then. After a visit by me to the Memorial and Sloan Kettering Hospital in New York, where I watched Professor Blumgart carry out virtually bloodless resection of liver tumors, I came back and lamented to my registrars that we too could do this if we could get hold of a modified omnitract retractor which holds up both costal margins. That retractor cost around 4 million rupees at that time, and I'm glad the Director General and Secretary Health are here. I hope if somebody comes with a request that you give it, or send them to Srinath, because I showed him a catalogue picture, and lo and behold, 2 weeks later he brings me one, made in his workshop in Kandy with the help of local craftsmen. But it was much later that I learned that he was also good at repairing antique cars and has a passion for it. His versatility transcends restoring the urological tract to normal function, to being an entertainer, a dancer, singer, and a musician, as we saw a few days ago at the opening of this building. He is also a visionary. Srinath, you have worked hard with your craftsmen to fulfill your vision to restore this wonderful gift to the college to its original pristine beauty. It was full of antiques at that time because Dr. Noel Bartholomew was a passionate collector of antiques. He was of Dutch origin. You and your council have been very busy with the activities of the college and have achieved a lot in spite of several lockdowns, as you have mentioned before. I congratulate you on this. You may have noticed that this year there is no theme for the sessions, as has been customary in the past. I asked Ms. Amali from the college secretariat about this. She laughed and said, I think the theme is celebrating 50 years. "50 years of unprecedented progress." Most of you young people won't know it, but it is only during these last 50, 60 years that we have had all the antibiotics that we have developed the therapeutics that we have. Imaging was available only recently, but it's now routine. Automated analyzers. It was always with pipettes and burettes and handheld pumps that we sort of analyzed various blood indices. Transplantation, laparoscopy, interventional surgery and robotics and so on. But while looking at this progress, we need to ponder over the next 50 years, as was mentioned earlier. What is the future? What is the legacy that we will leave for our children and for young surgeons in the future? At the risk of being accused of stating the obvious, you will all agree that the world is in crisis. Apart from the mortality, morbidity following the pandemic, the effects of climate change and the ugly spread of racism all over the world are alarming. We have heard experts and world leaders talk at COP26 at Glasgow. Madam President, you probably have also listened to them until you were tired. They have done it since 1995. COP stands for Conference of the Parties, 26, that means it's the 26th conference. All these leaders and scientists enjoy 10 seconds of glory when they get on being on a stage or before television cameras for international news networks. Those of us who are cricket fans will miss watching cricket matches at the Yorkshire Cricket Ground. Headingley, which I loved to sort of really, when I was young, it was only on radio, there was no television. I loved listening to commentators talk about the beauty of Headingley. And now it is closed as a consequence of racial prejudice. Is racism present only in sports? What about the medical profession? One has to only ask from both minority and majority communities to understand racism both implied and in the form of innuendo. Is not social justice one of the pillars of medical ethics? Patient care, patient autonomy, and social justice. If we don't practice those three concepts, then we will be failing in our duties as good doctors. No amount of legislation, no amount of laws can change human behavior. We know that. When it comes to controlling the three crises that I mentioned, if you look at them objectively, you will realize that it comes down to the response of the individual. Control the pandemic, wearing a mask, washing hands, social distancing, vaccination. What if the individual, and how many individuals all over the world, there are people protesting on the streets and willing to get shot, protesting against these practices. So, where have we failed? We need to look at that. Then, to control racism, no amount of laws, no amount of international courts of justice can put that right. It comes to the individuals. Treating all human beings as equal and teaching young people tolerance and harmony at a very young age. Two important concepts which we miss in our education system. And then to control climate change, every person can make a very small contribution daily. And with this contribution, probably reduce the greenhouse gas effect and produce a change. The population of the world as of 2020 was 7.753 billion. What a response we could have had if each one of them could be persuaded to do that little bit, to change a little bit of the three crises that I have mentioned. How about surgeons and climate change? Can surgeons contribute to reducing the carbon footprint to reduce the speed of global rise in temperature? And we have to do it quick if we can. In questions such as these, we surgeons, and for that matter, most professionals and most people, conveniently leave it to them or they to sort out these problems. It is not that we will get together and do it. Leave it to them, they will sort it out, we'll get on with our lives. The community looks up to our surgeons as role models. Most of the medical profession looks up to us as role models, except perhaps your anesthetist. As such, surgeons should set an example and should not be exempt from reducing the collective carbon footprint. Surgery is resource intensive, contributes considerably to greenhouse gas emissions. 8 to 10% of all greenhouse gas emissions in USA. And then there are direct and indirect impacts. There are an estimated 1.113 million, I thought there were more, surgeons and anesthetists all over the world. And they carry out approximately 234.2 million surgical procedures. So, if you find with this large number, it was estimated that global emission of anesthetic gases would be equivalent to the carbon emission from 1 million cars. And can't we then, in certain instances, rather than use intravenous regional anesthesia rather than use gases for anesthesia? Service delivery and visitor travel, vehicles, they produce using petrol or diesel and replacing these petrol and diesel vehicles with hydrogen or electric vehicles will probably help. Digitized health delivery care, unfortunately not available to the vast majority of the deprived, will help too. And it is not only visitor and delivery vehicles, but even doctors. We should look at our vehicles and see whether we can make a small contribution to reducing greenhouse gases. So the gases are carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide and fluorinated gases, which are used in anesthesia. The main sources of such emissions are transport and use of electricity in industry, commercial and residential activities, and in agriculture. You could not add hospitals to this list. 4% of carbon emissions come from healthcare systems. Can we reduce these emissions in some way or the other? Take a small surgery. The ophthalmologists carry out every day, phacoemulsification. It has been shown to release a much larger carbon footprint than manual small incision cataract surgery. The release of carbon dioxide following insufflation for laparoscopic surgery. Today, if you are not a laparoscopic surgeon, you are not a surgeon. So you can imagine the amount of carbon dioxide which is used to insufflate the abdomen that will be sort of released to the atmosphere soon after the procedure. There are techniques called gasless laparoscopy, and I think we should explore and sort of popularize these techniques. Operating theaters use electricity 3 to 6 times more than the rest of the hospital. Strategies for more effective use of operating rooms, not air conditioning when not being used, switching to more efficient light emitting diodes, and transition to renewable power sources. These are all things that can be done in our hospitals, and have we considered them? Are we prepared to do it? Then avoiding treating non-biohazardous waste as hazardous, because then again it will produce more carbon dioxide. Then single-use recyclable devices. There is controversy as to whether which producers and which is carbon footprint friendly. The cost of post-operative infections may mitigate advantages. However, the reuse of untouched materials brought into the operating room, which must be seriously considered, especially in high-income countries. Then transportation, we can minimize really by using telemedicine for pre and post-operative care wherever this is available. And we must look forward to this. Now that we have digitized this entire premises, digitizing and using other methods of communication should become now more freely available. And transiting from paper-based to electronic medical records are other areas we need to look. Then collecting data on energy consumption and waste management on the carbon footprint. Advocacy, that's very important. We need to make these things popular. We need to lobby everybody possible and the stakeholders, especially our administrators. I'm glad that two of them are here, and probably they might take the message across. The importance of climate proofing in operating rooms, surgical units, procurement and delivery. These are the areas we need to look at. None of this what I told you is my original thinking. You may say this chap is a plagiarist. He has taken chunks of material from other sources and claiming it as his own. So I am giving you my sources. This is online, and the last one was in September 2021 from the Bulletin of the American College of Surgeons. Other is from the Lancet and the BMD online editions. So it's all there. It is work that was done before, and since I have researched it, you may call me a good researcher. The most important initial steps is to educate ourselves, educate our surgical colleagues, our trainees, our students, ward and operating theatre staff, and hospital administrators, and have dialogue with them. I must add something original to this talk because all of this is plagiarized. And today every research paper publication needs to have a statement disclaimer on conflict of interest. My suggestion is that you seriously consider that future publications research should also carry a statement on possible effect on carbon footprint, climate change, on a scale of 0 to 10. So 0 being no effect and 10 the highest. So if it is between 5 and 10, they must write a note explaining why it is so and why it cannot be overcome. It will keep our surgeons thinking. And hopefully, in the next 50 years, we maybe have a sort of livable planet for our future generations. Mr. President, Council of the College, I thank you very much for giving me this great honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for those wise words. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item on our agenda is the award of the honorary fellowships of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka. The college annually awards its highest accolade to those who have contributed to its growth and that of the wider surgical community. And we are honored to have 8 distinguished awardees tonight. And I would like to request the fellowship recipient to approach the head table when the citation is being read. Our first citation will be read by Dr. Satish Gunasinghe for the award of the Honorary Fellowship of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka to Dr. Chandalal Jayendra Fernando.
The President, members of the Council and distinguished guests, I take great pleasure in introducing Dr. Chandalal Jayendra Fernando, Consultant General Surgeon, Lanka Hospital, Colombo, and the immediate past President of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka for the Honorary Fellowship. Dr. Fernando had his primary education at St. Joseph's College, Colombo, and he became the Deputy Head Prefect of his school, signaling his leadership qualities. He studied medicine at the North Colombo Medical College and graduated in 1990 and did his internship at Gampa Hospital where he worked as a surgical intern with Dr. Gamini Gunathilaka, a distinguished past president of our college. Following his selection to the postgraduate training program in surgery, Dr. Fernando had his training mainly in the then General Hospital Colombo, the current National Hospital of Sri Lanka. He obtained the master's degree in surgery in 1996 and chose to be trained in the discipline of general surgery. He had his overseas training in Tauranga, New Zealand. Following the completion of his training, he was board certified as a specialist in general surgery by the Postgraduate Institute of Medicine, University of Colombo, and his first appointment in the Ministry of Health was as a consultant surgeon at the Ampara General Hospital in the Eastern Province in 1998. Thereafter, Dr. Fernando went on to teach basic sciences as a senior lecturer in anatomy at the Faculty of Medicine, University of California in 1999, and subsequently became the head of the department and served the university for 3 years. Later on, he joined the Lanka Hospital as a full-time consultant general surgeon in July 2002, and he continues to work in the same position. Dr. Fernando has been a key member of the Council of the College since 2001. He joined the Council in 2001 and he has served in different capacities for 16 terms. He functioned as the treasurer of the college for 5 years from 2010, and he brought in many measures to ensure sound and rational financial governance of the college. He was elected a fellow of our college in 2015, and he became our vice president in 2018. Dr. Fernando took over as the president of the college in 2020. He planned an excellent program for the year, but the global pandemic of COVID-19 came in his way. However, he, together with his committed council, rose up to take up the challenge. The planned traditional in-person annual meeting of 2020 was transformed to a hybrid meeting within a short spate of 3 weeks. The meeting was a success with excellent inputs from local and foreign faculty. And this hybrid meeting style is in fact the template of our current meeting this year. His presidency last year were full of challenges. He had to clear paths, define new norms, and he showed innovation and improvised solutions. Dr. Jayendra Fernando surmounted all the challenges before him last year with the crisis. He also is a member of the executive committee of the SARC Surgical Care Society since 2012, and he was its Secretary General in 2018 and 19. Dr. Fernando was awarded the honorary fellowship of the Association of Surgeons of India in 2020. In addition to his busy work routine as a surgeon, Dr. Fernando has varied interests. He has obtained a diploma in business management from ICFI University in Dehradun, India. He is a well-known wildlife and nature artist, and he has held numerous public exhibitions of his art. As some of you are aware, he is an excellent author as well. He has authored an illustrated work on fruits of Sri Lanka with excellent drawings and descriptions. His book titled Fame and Pain features medical events, especially surgical procedures related to leaders, politicians, and celebrities. Some things like the McNaughton's rule, Minerva jacket, Tutankhamun's curse, Queen Victoria's hemophilia gene, and Anthony Eden's biliary stricture. He delves into different topics and it shows his versatility. Multifaceted Dr. Fernando is so very balanced, simple, friendly, unassuming, amenable, focused, and purposeful, all being virtues of a great surgical leader. President, members of the Council, in recognition of the leadership and key contribution rendered to the surgical fraternity and services of this country, I have immense pleasure in presenting Dr. Chandalal Jayendra Fernando for the award of the Honorary Fellowship of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka.
Thank you, sir. May I now call upon Dr. Rezni Kasim to read the citation for the award of the Honorary Fellowship of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka to Dr. Abe Narendra Dalvi.
The head table and the ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Abe Narendra Dalvi. He is the superannuated professor of surgery of Seth Medical College and KEM Hospital, Mumbai. And he has many interests: minimal access surgery, hepatobiliary surgery and endocrine surgery, and also in cricket. And he has many he is a recognized PG teacher, and he has more than 50 publications. And he has a Hagibon Fellowship in USA 2007 and faculty president World Congress Shanghai 2016. And he was the president of Association Surgeons of India 2021, president of Indian Association GI Endosurgeon 2015. He has delivered many orations, 16 to date, and he has been a friend of our council and with Sri Lanka and with all the SAARC member countries. It is my privilege and pleasure to invite our president to deliver the honorary fellowship of this college. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. May I now call upon Professor Bhavanta Gamage to read the citation for the award of the Honorary Fellowship of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka to Miss Judy Evans.
The President of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, past presidents, members of the Council and distinguished guests. It gives me great pleasure in presenting Miss Judy Evans, FRCS, who actually need no introduction to the surgical community in Sri Lanka. Judy qualified from Oxford University and Charing Cross Medical School in London. She worked as first non-Chinese female house officer for the famous Professor Guan B. Ong, who is considered as the father of surgery in Hong Kong. Then she returned to UK to train as a plastic surgeon and started working as a consultant plastic surgeon in Plymouth since 1990. Judy became one of the first female surgeons as an examiner of the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, and this post brought her to Sri Lanka many times. She has been involving in teaching our trainees and training our examiners, and has presented on burns, breast surgery, and even bullying in our academic meetings in Sri Lanka. Judy has also served as an examiner in our surgery exit examinations. She has organized registrar competitions for both colleges and has helped several Sri Lankan trainees to develop their careers abroad. She was the first female honorary secretary of the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh and continues to work for equality in training. Judy has published many articles in peer-reviewed index journals and written several book chapters during her career as a plastic surgeon and surgical educationist. On a personal note, I met Judy for the first time in her first visit to Sri Lanka in 2011 when I was the Secretary of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka. In that year, as our President mentioned, we signed a MOU between the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh and our college, and we celebrate 10th anniversary of that MOU this year. Since then, I have met Judy several times in the Edin College membership examinations held in Sri Lanka and overseas. As an examiner, I have observed how dedicated person she is in keeping the standards of surgical education and training aiming at patient safety. Judy is a mother of 2 children who serves in the medical profession. Mr. President and the members of the Council, in recognition of contribution rendered to the surgical fraternity and services of this country, I take great pleasure in presenting Ms. Judy Evans, FRCS, for the award of Honorary Fellowship of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka in this Golden Jubilee Congress inauguration ceremony.
Thank you, ma'am. May I now call upon Professor Ajit Maladasekara to read the citation for the award of the Honorary Fellowship of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka to Professor Lim Keen Gee.
The President of the College, members of the Council and distinguished guests. I take great pleasure in introducing to you Professor Lim Keen Gee from Malaysia. Dr. Lim is Professor in Surgery at the International Medical University and President of the College of Surgeons, Academy of Medicine, Malaysia. He graduated from the University of Glasgow in 1983 and obtained the Fellowship of the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh in 1989. He joined as a member of the Academy of Medicine, Malaysia in 1995 and became a Fellow in 2003. After training and service in the Ministry of Health, he was in private practice as a general surgeon at the Taiping Medical Center. He was on the editorial board of the Medical Journal of Malaysia from 1996 and the editor-in-chief from 2011 to 2013. He has written 2 books, one a review of diseases in Malaysia and one on the history of medicine in Malaysia. He joined the International Medical University as an associate professor in 2013 and was made a full professor in 2019. He serves on the Conjoint Board for Surgery and the Specialist Evaluation Committee of the Malaysian Medical Council on behalf of the College and Academy. He is also an examiner for the Masters of Surgery for the Conjoint Board. President Sir, members of the Council, I take great pleasure in presenting Professor Lim Keen Gee for the award of the Honorary Fellowship of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka.
Thank you, sir. May I now call upon Professor Ranil Fernando to read the citation for the award of the Honorary Fellowship of the College of Surgeons to Professor Katarina Lundgren.
President of the College of Surgeons, Council members, distinguished guests, I think this is the first time that we are probably offering a fellowship for somebody online. I hope that Professor Lundgren is online, but perhaps she is not. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you Professor Katarina Lundgren, who is a senior breast and endocrine surgeon at the famous Karolinska University Hospital in Stockholm, Sweden. I had the pleasure of visiting. Actually, this is the first time I have called her Katrina Ihe Lundgren because she is affectionately known as Kia among her friends, colleagues, and everybody who knows her. So I'm going to call her Kia from now on. Kia actually has visited Sri Lanka a couple of times before, and I know that she holds a special place in her heart for this country, and I'm sure once the pandemic is over, she'll be with us in our future academic activities. She is actually a much sought after medical teacher, and she has taught at all levels and supervised many postgraduate degrees, including PhDs. And she's an avid researcher and has many publications. Unfortunately, we don't have time to list all the publications that she has done. Her research focuses mainly on the epidemiology, health-related quality of life, radio-iodine avidity, and cardiovascular effects of thyroid cancer. In fact, she's going to do a plenary on radio-iodine avidity during these sessions as well. She's obviously a much sought after speaker, and I have met her over 10 years in endocrine meetings all over the world. And we are lucky to have her delivering a lecture during our golden anniversary sessions. Kia is actually the current president of the Swedish Surgical Society and the vice president of the Swedish Medical Society. And on a personal note, I know that Kia is an avid enthusiast of fitness, and she sometimes cycles 50 kilometers to work and back. So you can see what an enthusiast she is of fitness. Mr. President, members of the Council, in recognition of the contribution and services rendered to the surgical fraternity world over, I take great pleasure in presenting Professor Katrina Ihe Lundgren for the award of the Honorary Fellowship of the College of Surgeons.
Thank you, sir. May I now call upon Dr. Nisanka Jayawardena to read the citation for the award of the Honorary Fellowship of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka to Professor Jacqueline Taylor.
The President and the Council, the members of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, ladies and gentlemen, let us have the pleasure of introducing Professor Jacqueline Taylor, the President of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Glasgow. Jacqueline started her medical career at the prestigious University of Glasgow. After completing the bachelor's degree, she passed the MRCP exam and was dually accredited in geriatric and internal medicine, just in 3 years. She obtained the fellowship of RCPSG in 1995. Professor Taylor was honored many a time by several honorary fellowships, such as Faculty of Public Health, the School of Medicine, Dentistry and Surgery of the University of Glasgow. Then she was awarded the prestigious Doctor of Medicine degree from the same university. Her interests mainly are geriatrics and heart failure, where she has done an immense service by striving to improve the quality of care by an integrated multidisciplinary approach, supporting colleagues, and commitment to improving medical education. Professor Taylor has been a role model as an examiner, curriculum developer, an excellent undergraduate and postgraduate trainer, and a researcher. She has published many research articles in peer-reviewed journals. We will surely fail our duty if we do not mention Jackie's and Glasgow colleagues' tremendous service to the Sri Lankan surgical fraternity, as our President mentioned. As many of us know, the senior members of the RCPSG went out of their way to assess the Sri Lankan MD examination and benchmarked it to allow them to offer the MRCS Glasgow without an exam to the successful candidates, a privilege that has never been offered to anybody before. Consequently, the General Medical Council of the UK recognized the Sri Lankan MD exam, which resulted in more accessible and better training opportunities for our trainees in the UK, enabling them to serve not only Sri Lankans, but of course the UK citizens as well. Professor Taylor, accompanied by some senior RCPSG members, visited Sri Lanka during our presidency in 2019. We are sure her pleasant mannerisms, kind gestures, and excellent ideas regarding training and other valuable subjects left an indelible mark in the hearts of Sri Lankan surgeons, which led to further strengthening of intercollegiate ties. In this visit, she met all the new members of Glasgow and encouraged them immensely. Dear President and the Council, in recognition of the contribution rendered to the surgical fraternity of Sri Lanka and the world, may we take great pleasure in presenting Professor Jacqueline Taylor, President of the College of Surgeons of Glasgow, for the honorary fellowship of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka.
Thank you, sir. May I now call upon Dr. Malik Samarasinghe to read the citation for the award of the Honorary Fellowship of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka to Dr. Hettiara Trige Walter Elliott Thisera.
The President of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, members of the Council, and distinguished guests. I am honored to introduce Dr. Hettiara Trige Walter Elliott Thisera, retired consultant surgeon of the National Hospital of Kandy and visiting senior lecturer in the Department of Surgery, University of Peradeniya. Dr. Thisera passed out with second-class honors from the Faculty of Medicine of the University of Peradeniya in 1967, having had his primary and secondary education at St. Joseph's College, Colombo. He interned in the then General Hospital, Colombo with Professor R.A. Navaratna and at the Lady Ridgeway Hospital for Children with Professor Priyani Soiza, both giants in their fields of surgery and pediatrics, respectively. Dr. Thisera passed his primary FRCS in 1969 and proceeded to the United Kingdom for further training in 1973 and worked at St. Peter's and Rowley Bristow Hospitals in Perford, Surrey. Having obtained his FRCS England in 1974, Dr. Thisera returned to Sri Lanka in 1975. From 1975 to 1978, he was the resident surgeon at the Accident Service of the General Hospital, Colombo, and thereafter Dr. Thisera held the posts of Consultant General Surgeon in the General Hospital, Badulla, and Teaching Hospital, Karapitiya, Galle. In 1986, he was appointed as the Consultant General Surgeon to the National Hospital, Kandy, which was then the General Hospital, Kandy. He served in this position until his retirement from the Department of Health in 2003. During these 17 years of service in Kandy, Dr. Thisera evolved into the colossus he was, dominating the surgical scene in the central province, along with other greats such as Professor Arjuna Aluhare and Professor Channaratna Tunga. And he was one of the most sought-after postgraduate trainers in surgery in Kandy. Loved and respected not only by his surgical mentees, amongst whom I gratefully count myself, but by all categories of staff, medical students, patients, and the community at large for his exceptional qualities of professionalism, integrity, and humaneness. After his retirement from the Department of Health, Dr. Tisera served as a visiting senior lecturer in the Department of Surgery, University of Peradeniya from 2005 to 2012, continuing with passion in the service of surgical education, both undergraduate and postgraduate. President, members of the Council, in recognition of the contribution rendered to the surgical fraternity and in the service of this country, I take great pleasure in presenting this exceptional surgeon and human being, Dr. Hettiarachige Walter Elliot Tisera, for the award of the Honorary Fellowship of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka.
May I now call upon Dr. Mahanama Gunasekara to read the citation for the award of the Honorary Fellowship of the College to Dr. Kanapati Pille Yoheswaran.
Chief Guest Professor Sharif Dean, President, past Presidents, and the members of the Council of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, dignitaries of the head table, members of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. In this evening, I am privileged and honored to present one of the most eminent and exemplary surgeon of our time, Dr. Kanapati Pille Yoheswaran, who is a mentor to country. Dr. Yoheswaran was born in 1928 when Ceylon was a British colony and obtained his MBBS from Colombo Medical School in 1954 with honors and a distinction in medicine. He qualified primary FRCS in Sri Lanka and proceeded to the United Kingdom for the fellowship examination. Having obtained FRCS from the Edinburgh and London colleges, he started his career as a consultant in General Hospital, Badulla, and 5 years later, he proceeded to overseas again for further experience in thoracic surgery in Brompton Chest Hospital and the Papworth Hospital, Cambridge, United Kingdom. Being a highly skilled general surgeon, he pioneered advanced gastrointestinal surgery. While serving in regional hospitals, which include Ratnapura and Kurunegala, he popularized pancreatic surgery and esophageal surgery. Later, he was appointed to National Hospital, then General Hospital, Colombo. By this time, his extraordinary skills in the field of surgery were no longer a secret, and soon he was handpicked as the first surgeon to serve in the newly built state-of-the-art postgraduate teaching hospital, Sri Jayawardenepura, in 1984. Having awarded Japan International Corporation Scholarship to be trained in gastrointestinal endoscopy and endourology in Keio University Hospital, Japan, Dr. Yoheswaran was one of the first few clinicians to commence fiber optic endoscopic procedures in Sri Lanka. Having had access to the most modern surgical technologies at that time, in Sri Jayawardenepura Hospital, his skills as a master craftsman was apparent. While performing highly complex surgical procedures in the fields of all domains of general surgery with excellent outcomes, he used to treat hundreds of soldiers who were victims of war which was prevailing at that time. After having miraculously saved one of the cabinet ministers who was seriously injured during the parliament bomb blast in 1987, Dr. Yoheswaran became a celebrity overnight among the corridors of power in Colombo. He was a pioneer in promoting advanced surgical laparoscopic surgery among surgical trainees in Sri Lanka in early 1990s. Dr. Yoheswaran's services to the nation were recognized with national awards, Vidya Jyoti in 1988 and Vidya Prashadini in 1996. He delivered the inaugural Milroy Paul oration in 2010 on the invitation of the President of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka. On a personal note, I consider him as a father figure in my surgical career, and I am blessed to be a trainee under him during the pinnacle of his career. Mr. President and the members of the Council, please allow me to invite Dr. Kanapati Pille Yoheswaran to receive the Honorary Fellowship of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka.
Thank you very much, sir. The next item on the agenda is the award of the prizes and medals that are awarded by the college annually. May I now call upon our chief guest, Professor H. Sharif Dean, to present these awards. The first award tonight is the MVP Peris Award for the best performance in surgery at the final MBBS examination in 2020, and that is awarded to Dr. G. Vaikundan. The next award is the PSS Pandita Ratna Award. It is awarded the PSS Pandita Ratna Gold Medal for Anatomy in MD Surgery Part 1 examination January and February 2020, awarded to Dr. DT Disanayaka. The next award is the PSS Pandita Ratna Gold Medal for Anatomy in the MD Surgery Examination Part 1, July-September 2020, awarded to Dr. HSU Ratnayaka. The next award is the Dr. M.H. D'Soisa Award for the best performance in the theory component at the MD Surgery Part 2 examination in September 2020, awarded to Dr. Nipun Vikramasekara. The M.H. D'Soisa Award for the best performance in the theory component at the MD Surgery Part 2 examination February 2021, awarded to Dr. H.G.P.K. Vijayaratna. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have the Dr. P.R. Antonis Research Award, which is awarded to the two best publications in peer-reviewed journals authored by Sri Lankan surgical trainees in the previous calendar year. The first is awarded for the paper entitled Clinical Outcomes and Effectiveness of Laser Treatment for Hemorrhoids, a Systematic Review, to Dr. B.M.O.D. Basnayaka. The next award is for the paper entitled The Incidence and Patterns of Colorectal Cancers in Sri Lanka from 2001 to 2010, Analysis of National Cancer Registry Database, Dr. Umesh Jayaraja. And the final award for tonight is the Dr. S.J. Stephen Gold Medal, which is awarded to the best published article in the Sri Lanka Journal of Surgery for the year 2020. And this is awarded for the paper entitled percutaneous transluminal lower limb angioplasty PTA for chronic limb-threatening ischemia CLTI in a low-resource setting, a 4-year experience, awarded to Dr. M.R.N. Kasim. Thank you very much, sir.
I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and I saw that life was service. I acted and behold, service was joy. President, sir, members of the council, past presidents, honored guests, these are words I have read from the first few pages of a book, The History of Surgery in Sri Lanka. And it is a quote from Rabindranath Tagore, whose words seem to paint a picture of the gentle surgical giant who I'm trying to introduce to you all today. I'm honored to introduce to you today. He is Professor Channa Ratnatunga, fondly known as Chester by his friends and colleagues for the English cricketing legend he resembles. Professor Ratnatunga is an emeritus professor of surgery from the Department of Surgery at the University of Peradeniya. He is adored by his patients, revered and loved as a teacher and a surgical trainer, renowned for his meticulous research, and one of the two pioneer vascular surgeons, along with Professor Sherifdeen, who established the specialty of vascular surgery in Sri Lanka. He has numerous talents and passions, and writing is truly one of them. He has published on a wide range of topics, including surgical history, on the history of his alma mater, and also on Buddhist philosophy, just to name a few of it. Over the last 5 years, his passion has been on this book titled The Sri Lankan Surgical History. He has been toiling to amass a collection of essays by over 100 surgeons. He has edited it, and he has also added his own flavor to it from his experiences over 50 years of dedicated surgical services to this country. Dear sir, I hope he is joined here with us. Dear sir, congratulations on this fabulous journey you have undertaken in putting together a chronicle of surgical history for the College of Surgeons and for all of us surgeons in Sri Lanka. I invite you, sir, to tell us a little bit more about this book. He will hopefully be joining us virtually from Kandy.
The President of the College of Surgeons, Professor Srinath Chandrasekhara, the President of the College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, the President of the Sark Surgical Care Society, past presidents, invited guests both from overseas and locally, and ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I thank you for inviting me to launch a book compiled by me over the last 4 years on the history of surgery in this country. I thought I should mention a few words about why I took it on. Once upon a time, about 3-4 years before I fell ill, I had a postgraduate meeting, and at the meeting, I was discussing with the senior registrars about the particular surgeon, a neurosurgeon in my time, who was very concerned about his patients. He literally lived in the hospital, and he was concerned about all of us. I'm sure the people who are senior in the audience will know whom I'm talking about. It was Dr. Darrell Weimer. And to my surprise, one of the senior registrars came and asked me, "Who is this Dr. Darrell Weimer?" It was there and then that I realized that I had to do something to put back the history that we need to know about the college as such. Now, in 2015, I went through a bacillus stroke, and on recovery, I had, for the first time in my professional life, plenty of time to on my hands. So in 2016, I think I wrote to Ranjan Das, who was then the president, that I wanted to go get on to this venture of compiling a history of surgery in Sri Lanka. It entailed a lot of reading of surgical journals, books compiled once upon a time by various authors, and this in fact enabled me to compile a surgical bibliography of surgical writings by our surgeons, and I think it is now ready for printing, and I'm sure Dr. Anuruddha Gunasekar, who has been given the job of getting it out, will do that for me. Now, in the meantime, I think I have to take this opportunity to thank all those who helped me. I have emailed, harassed them during the professional life. I'm sure they didn't have much time to spare for me, but they did always comply, and I'm very thankful to them for letting me of all this information. Now, when something that made me think that history of surgery would help is the fact that senior surgeons before us, our predecessors, were hardworking in dire circumstances and helped to bring us where we are. And I'm sure the generations of surgeons to come will also be appreciative of this venture. Now, let me now introduce you to the book. The book is what you see in front of you. It has 500 pages. It is in color. And if I walk you through the book, it has, of course, the interactive pages, forward by Professor Alvihare, preface by me, contents pages and whatever else, and the author's qualifications. And then it is divided into 5 parts. The first part is a historical background written by eminent historians and archaeologists. Second part, the second part is of the Western medical influence that we had, because we were under the colonial rulers for almost 400 years. Part 3 is they taught us allopathic surgery, and part 3 deals with that dawn of what we call modern surgery in an allopathic palette. And part 4 is more recent, is the age of specialization. Part 5 deals with the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka and our efforts in the region. Now, the first introduction, chapter 1, which first 6 chapters deal with our historical past, second done by Dr. Deshamanya, Professor Kingsley Disblaw, the historian, takes us through the imagery of the history of Sri Lanka. That's a chapter on the anecdotes on surgical aspects that have been recorded in the Chulavansa. That is done also by Professor of History in Peradeniya, Professor Indrakirti Sirivira, about the health and sanitation of ancient Lanka. And the fifth chapter contributed to by Professor Aluvihare and Professor Leelananda Prematilaka, who was the professor of archaeology at Peradeniya, and it is very interesting to read. And then the sixth chapter, that is of the first part, deals with training of surgeons in the ancient Sri Lanka. There is a lot of documentation on this, and this has been reviewed. The picture on the top is really a picture of the lilies, the lotus that was used for training surgeons at that time. Next one is of our colonial past, the Portuguese, the Dutch, and the English. The English did the greatest contribution because they really brought allopathic surgery to Sri Lanka. And the missionaries who were involved in introducing complex surgeries in Jaffna. And then, of course, the Middle British period, during which we have some of the surgeons who actually are no more, but the senior one people would remember of their contribution. And then on the 10th chapter is a chapter on during the war years, where Ceylon contributed to the war effort, and 11th is on the Paul family, who actually contributed a great deal for surgery in Ceylon. And our founder president, Deshamanya P.R. Anthony's, was the subject for the chapter 12. And chapter 13, this is the time when, which is really the dawn of surgery. The third part deals with what you might call certain responsibility put on the Sri Lankan surgical fraternity. We have very few people, and we were asked to convert the popular belief in Vidaralas to allopathic surgery and provide an equitable service throughout the country. That actually entailed a lot of training and that sort of thing. And chapter 14 is the development of academic surgery. Academic surgery in the sense that surgery that was taught in the medical school by those, it is written by people of those medical schools and retrace their history individually at the individual medical school. And 16 is that of the PJIM. Now, the PJIM, in my opinion, was the really watershed years where many people were trained and we could deploy them all over the country. It was probably one of the best decisions ever made by a Sri Lankan medical fraternity. 17 deals with the expansion of general surgery throughout the country, dealing with teaching hospitals, the surgeons who used to work in those hospitals, and they themselves have written most of it. So it is actually a large chapter, but it's very useful to read. 18, now we come to section 4, with the development of pediatric surgery in 18. 19 is the development of neurosurgery by Lal Gunasekar, Ranjit Vikram Singh and Sunil Perra. And chapter 20 is in 3 parts. The part 1 is on by Chandima Amarasena. Part 2 is by Panna Gunaratna, who did the pediatric part of the development of cardiothoracic surgery, and the part 3 is by Varuna Karunaratna, who did the non-cardiac thoracic surgery. 21 is development of gastrointestinal surgery, both upper and lower, taken through from readings all over the journals, and that development of hepatopancreatic biliary surgery by by Mohan Silva, Aloka Pathiran and Siva Ganesh, who really development of urological services follow that on the 23rd chapter, written by Anuruddha Abhay Veliga Swata and Satish Gunasinghe. Nalendra Pinto actually has helped us develop the accident and trauma surgery in Sri Lanka, and development of orthopedic surgery by Chanak Vijayasekara, Upali Panagal and Gamini Edrisinghe. And 26 is on vascular surgery and its development by Halim Sharif Deen, Mandika Vijayaratna and myself. And Narendra Vijayman and Tushan Venerakama helped to develop, to write the development of plastic surgery in Sri Lanka. And in the oncological surgical development was by Kanishka De Silva, Andrani Amarasinghe, and Rasita Vanantunga. The transplants chapter deals with renal transplants, hepatic transplants, and lastly the cardiac transplant. It is dealt with by many surgeons who are recognized. One, Halim Sharifdeen, Mandika Vijayaratna, Harish Chandra, and Rohan Sirivardhana. And then, of course, the development of endocrine surgery by Ranil Fernando and myself. And then, of course, we have gone through this war that has been around for the last 30 years. That is done by one of the most experienced war surgeons, Gamani Gunatilaka. And, of course, chapter 32 deals with all the supportive services, the anesthesiologists, the critical care specialists, the blood transfusion specialists, the imaging department, the pathologist, the microbiologist. And it is a very useful timeline related chapter. Chapter 33 is probably the largest. It is dealing with the college and how it came about, how the original people who were responsible for the college, and it deals with them sequentially, and how the new developments have occurred. And lastly, the effect of the college for the Surgical Society and its our contribution to the region. Thank you. Now, this book is not available at the moment for sale. There are some what I call COVID-related problems. They are not related, in the sense that we couldn't get everything done in time. But it will be ready by the beginning of January, hopefully. And with perhaps we try to get it out by the induction of the next president. So that is the book. Now, due to multifactorial reasons, I can't be present today. But my son, who's a council member, will present the book to the president. Thank you for listening. I'll call it a day.
Thank you, Kesara, and thank you, sir. May I now call upon the Secretary of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, Dr. Ranga Wickramarachchi, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Members of the head table, President and the Council of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, distinguished past presidents, fellows, members of the college, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. As the Secretary of the college, it's my pleasant task and also my duty to acknowledge the effort and contribution of many individuals before we conclude the formalities of this inauguration ceremony. Sri Lanka Surgical Congress 2021 is the pinnacle of the Golden Jubilee celebrations of the college. The intent of this year's Congress is to reflect on the progress we have made over the last 50 years, recognizing the dedication and the commitment of past surgical doyens, and to look forward to new horizons in the field of surgery in Sri Lanka. This has coincided with the grand opening of the refurbished college premises, the Noel and Nora Bartholomew's Foundation 4 days ago, and you just witnessed the launching of the book History of Surgery in Sri Lanka, opening of the new surgical museum and the releasing of the commemorative stamp are also in the lineup to mark our 50th anniversary. The Congress this year will be a hybrid meeting over 3 days commencing tomorrow, and it will bring all the surgical specialties together. 7 pre-Congress workshops have been already conducted successfully, and 2 post-Congress workshops are to follow, covering a wide spectrum of surgical topics. Professor H. Sharif Dean, our chief guest tonight. Dear sir, thank you for gracing this occasion and for advising and guiding the college as always. I'm grateful to Professor Mike Griffin, President, and Professor Rowan Parks, Vice President of the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, and Professor M.D. Lamavansa, President of the Sark Surgical Care Society, for their collaboration and their presence today. I'm pleased to mention that the partnership the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka has with the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh and the Sark Surgical Care Society in jointly organizing this annual conference has been continuing for more than a decade. A special note of thanks to Professor Jackie Taylor, President of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Glasgow. I wish to extend my gratitude to the presidents and the dignitaries of the international colleges and associations, including India, Pakistan, and Malaysia. I am thankful to Dr. Sanjeeva Munasinghe, Secretary to the Ministry of Health, and Dr. Asela Gunawardena, Director General Health Services, for gracing this occasion and for all the support extended towards the college activities. It has indeed been a challenging time, not only to the college but to the entire world. The College Council and the organizing committee have worked tirelessly to overcome some of these challenges to succeed to the end. They really deserve appreciation. This year too, we had large number of resource persons exceeding 100 in total, both local and foreign. I am very much thankful to each one of them for sharing their expertise with us despite their hectic schedule. I am delighted to inform you that we had nearly 250 abstract and 5 oration submissions, making the task of the panel of judges and evaluators difficult. I acknowledge them for a job well done within a short period of time. Refurbishment of this precious property, the Noel and Nora Bartholomew's Foundation, was not an easy task. Members of the restoration team have shown a tremendous capacity and capability in handling the difficulties, making this premises ready for the event. I really appreciate all those efforts, and I'm afraid the list is too long to be mentioned here. I will be failing in my duty if I do not mention the names of a few who contributed to make this event a success. Mr. Atula Mahavalage and team for artistry and creativity, you witnessed here, and all the service providers for fulfilling technical logistics, including audiovisuals and connectivity, for arranging flowers, decor, refreshments, and my own colleague Dulanta De Silva for adding his voice. We had many sponsors who contributed generously despite the hardship experienced by them in the current context. Without their contribution, this event would not have been possible, and I would like to thank them all. Many thanks to our college team for their endurance and support at all times. Mr. Dayananda, Amali, Chatusha, Hirun, supported by a young, energetic group of budding doctors. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, let me thank all of you for your presence here as well as joining virtually to witness this event. This concludes the official proceedings of the ceremonial inauguration, and I hope you would enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you. Have a pleasant evening. Stay safe. Ayubowan.
Thank you, Ranga. And as you mentioned, that brings us to the conclusion of the official part of today's ceremony. I will like to request the stage party to take their seats in the audience in a short while. In the meantime, a small bit of housekeeping. The college has emailed to all the surgeons, all the members, the login details and passwords for the college digital app. So if you have been unable to access the app or upload the app onto your phone, there will be various demonstrators who will be able to help you to do this during the period of the fellowship. So please avail yourself of that assistance in order to utilize the digital app of the college, which will be a tremendous help to embrace the new digital age that the college is going into.
The College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka found a home at these very premises thanks to the princely gift of Nora and Noel Bartholomews. This magnificent property was bequeathed to the college on the passing of Mrs. Bartholomews in 2004. The premises at that time was indeed a stately home, complete with elegant living spaces as well as an immaculate garden and a prized orchidarium. It has since then evolved and changed to take on its new role as the headquarters of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka, while retaining its character, elegance, and charm. The Noel and Nora Bartholomews Foundation has been nurtured, developed, and enhanced by successive presidents and councils, enabling it to blossom into an academic, training, and administrative hub for the surgical fraternity of Sri Lanka. The Jubilee year has seen this magnificent premises of the Noel and Nora Bartholomews Foundation, which is over 150 years old, undergo significant restoration, not only to repair and refurbish the aging structural elements, but also to reimagine and enhance the premises to meet the demands of the next 50 years, while embodying its rich heritage. The exterior facade has been restored with a redesigned front arch reflecting the versatility of Sri Lanka's surgical fraternity and the strong traditions and values they uphold. The entire garden has been landscaped, preserving the original trees and the signature Bartholomew's orchidarium. The interior spaces have also been fully restored with the elegant wood paneling catalogued, restored, and replaced. New furniture and fittings have been carefully selected to match those of the period and character of the building and to suit the magnificent architecture of the bungalow, while retaining their ability to meet contemporary needs. The chandeliers have been introduced into the main foyer, with a view to infusing the interior with a regal ambiance, reminiscent of the mansion's gloried history. The Jubilee wing coming up in the former courtyard will house the Museum of Surgery, proposed to contain a variety of physical and virtual displays, and will also have direct digital links to the museums of the Royal Colleges of Glasgow and Edinburgh. It will also house a library and archives, as well as a rooftop terrace for fellowship. It was during the SLSC 2020 conference where the college, within a matter of days, took the bold step toward a fully virtual conference, that it became apparent that digital meetings would become the norm, and that we could make use of the renovation project to integrate digital infrastructure into the building. The entire complex has been digitally connected via local area network and boasts plug-and-play video conferencing facilities, allowing the premises to be used for virtual meetings under central control. The relocated council room boasts a seating capacity of 40 and has been digitally enabled along with a state-of-the-art audio system for virtual conferencing. The President's room has been refurbished with new furniture to function as a VIP lounge as well as versatile meeting spaces. The auditorium you are in has also undergone extensive refurbishment with enhanced audiovisual capabilities with a state-of-the-art presentation and meeting platform. The ability to perform real-time audio and video mixing with live streaming to social media platforms has been built in. A new lectern generously gifted by the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Glasgow forms the centerpiece of the auditorium. The digital footprint of the college has also been upgraded this year with a completely redesigned and revamped website. The CSSL digital mobile application has been developed from the ground up, bespoke for the college. This app, which will be exclusively for college members, will enable them to better engage with the college and its activities. This Jubilee year has seen the Dr. Noel and Nora Bartholomew's Foundation infused with the style, strength, and capacity to serve as the home for generations of Sri Lanka's surgeons in the decades to come. Indeed, a fitting tribute to Noel and Nora Bartholomew's in commemorating the 50th anniversary of the College of Surgeons of Sri Lanka.
that brings us to the conclusion of tonight's proceedings. May I request all of you to rise for the departure of the ceremonial procession. I would like to remind the members of the Council as well as the past presidents and our distinguished foreign delegates to return to the auditorium once the procession is over for further official photographs. Ladies and gentlemen, the President and the Council are pleased to welcome all of you to the fellowship that will follow shortly outside the main auditorium.